What is up, NFL fans? Welcome to the first playoff edition of Betting with the Barbers, powered by Superbook Sports. I'm Ron Kruk with former New York Giant Tiki Barber and former Tampa Bay Buck and 2022 Hall of Fame nominee Rondé Barber. Guys, great to be back with you after what was, just a crazy final week of the NFL season that saw huge comebacks, teams choking away their playoff dreams, and a tie, and you're in the playoff scenario that could have sent both the Raiders and Chargers to the playoffs. It was just insanity. What was your biggest takeaway from a chaotic week number 18?
Frank Reich has a lot to answer, and whether or not Carson Wentz is the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts next year, after clearly being in playoff contention for the whole year with the best running back in the National Football League, get blown out in a must-win game to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are coachless right now. That's the biggest takeaway from this weekend.
I don't know where else you could start or end than that exact statement, other than, the potential tie in the Vegas Chargers game. Otherwise, it was a crazy week. You have to give credit to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk about them later, obviously, because they made the playoffs. This is not a very good Steelers football team, a team that I think us and everybody else have been discounting all season long, and they're in the freaking playoffs. That's amazing, dude.
Incredible. Incredible. You're right. Big Ben somehow got it done with his Steelers. Massive comeback by the 49ers, beating the Rams stood out to me. And Tiki, the quarterback sneak on 3rd and 9 for the Giants.
It's the lasting image for the Giants. It's why Joe Judge no longer has a job.
And just because the same thing with me and my Broncos, Vic Fangio still couldn't manage a game and didn't figure out when to call a timeout. That's our lasting image as Bronco fans, and he got fired as well. So
you mentioned that San Francisco game. Now that one early in that game, I had a buddy ask me, like they all do, who you taking? And I'm like, San Fran in the points. About an hour later, he was about to strangle me because he took San Fran in the points. And then all of a sudden, that game turned on its head, man. And goodness gracious, they had to win to get in, and they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Another crazy week in the NFL. 5 favorites covered. 9 dogs came in. So the final stats, guys, for the year, the dogs were barking. According to teamrankings.com, the underdogs went 141 and to 125, 3 pushes overall. So the dogs were coming in all year long. The team with the best record against the spread was the Dallas Cowboys, 13-4. Next were the Packers at 12-5. And coming in third, I can't make this up, were the Detroit Lions at 11 dogs.
There you go. I got a question. Can you bet for ties?
Yes, you can.
That would be
at superbook.com. You could have bet there would be a tie in that Raiders and Chargers game. Think if you had that.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Yeah. Well, that has taken us to wild card weekend, a super wild card weekend. We've got 6 games going on, fellas, Saturday, Sunday, and for the first time ever on Monday Night Football too. We are going to pick each game, beginning with those Las Vegas Raiders, who after their overtime win over the Chargers earned the 5th seed. They get to travel to Cincinnati, who won the North Division and own the number 4 spot in the AFC. Cincinnati finished the year 10-7 against the spread. Las Vegas 8-9. Here are the odds coming in from superbook.com. Guys, Cincinnati opened up as a 6.5-point favorite. They are down to a 5.5-point favorite. The total sits at 49. Tiki, kick us off and give us your thoughts on this matchup.
It's very easy to pick the Cincinnati Bengals because of how well they've been playing these last couple of weeks. Joe Burrow with his almost 1,000 yards in 2 games are exciting, and the weather is likely to be in their favor for a team in the Las Vegas Raiders who play indoor. But what Rich Bisaccia has done, creating a belief in this team, having Derek Carr turn into a very reliable quarterback. He still throws too many interceptions, but a very reliable quarterback with a defense and Max Crosby and a couple other playmakers who are dominating at the line of scrimmage. I have to put my money on the Las Vegas Raiders. The momentum feels right. And really, to dig into the details, it's their run game, which over the last 3 weeks, Josh Jacobs has rushed for over 100 yards twice, and they get Darren Waller back. Hunter Renfrow has turned into a star, and Brian Edwards, who no one talks about, is becoming a very reliable target. They have all of the weapons you need. I'm going to take the Las Vegas Raiders getting 5.5 on the road against the Bengals, even though the Bengals are hot.
I just got to start by saying congrats to Rich. I mean, it's my guy, but come on, this Raiders team, midseason coach change, fired 2 receivers throughout the course of the year, and they just keep walking off wins. I mean, this is unbelievable. The Bengals haven't won a playoff game. I think I read this earlier, since Bo Jackson. They played the Raiders, right?
Wow.
So, Joe Burrow, great year. You have to tip your hat to him. They let the ball rip throwing the football. 3 guys, almost 1,000 yards. I think Tyler Boyd would have got it if he would have played last week. And they're going against a very average Raiders pass defense. So Casey Howard and that Raiders secondary, I mean, good luck. Tiki, you mentioned Joe Mixon. I have him down as the best running back remaining in the playoffs. Not discounting Derrick Henry when he comes back and starts playing. That being said, they don't rush for a lot of yards, but I still don't see how they don't run rampant on the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm kind of disagreeing with you. My only caveat here is that the Raiders are ultimate survivors. They've won 4 games in a row, all by 4 or less, right? Hunter Renfrow breakout season. Their offense is a little bit Jekyll and Hyde a little bit, and they've been relying on Josh Jacobs, like you said. There's the X factor though, and you said his name already, is Darren Waller. He has to have a bunch of targets in this game. He hasn't had a big game in the NFL this year since he played Cincy last. He had 116 yards in November. So otherwise, if that happens, yes, I can see where the Raiders maybe come away with the win here, but I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant because of the points. 5.5 points. I think Cincy is good enough to cover 5.5, cover for a win, but I don't know if they can cover 5.5. This feels like a close, gritty game, like the Raiders have been playing all year, the latter part of this season.
Yeah, and 2 things. Rich Bisaccia is only the 7th coach or the 4th coach to make the playoffs without starting the season. The last one was in 1961, Wally Lamb. And by the way, you know who has the most comeback victories in the NFL since 2014? Derek Carr, tied for 30 with Matt Stafford. So the kid can ball when it's crunch time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you're going against your Bengals, Rondé?
No, I'm saying they're going to win. I'm saying they're just not going to cover.
They're not going to cover. Gotcha. I wanted to make sure that was clear. I mean, you've ridden that Bengal wagon all year long, and it's paid off. There's no doubt about it.
What did I tell y'all this week? Tom Brady for the Super Bowl, Bengals in the MVP, Bengals in the Super Bowl. Come on.
If there's one thing that you've learned from watching this show, folks, it's that. Brady MVP and ride the Bengals. Listen, here, this one, to me, same thing. I have some reservation about Derek Carr getting it done in a cold weather. But the Bengals, I think their 31 playoff losing streak, it started against the Raiders in 1991. I think it's going to come full circle on Saturday. I like the Bengals being well rested. Raiders coming off that short week in an overtime game, although the Raiders have been on fire, as you pointed out, Rondé, and they are 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 games as a road dog. But I think the Bengals will get it done. The smart money from bettors is coming in on the Raiders at this point, bringing that total down. But I'm going with Cincinnati to cover the spread. All right, up next, fellas, you better get your snow boots, your hand warmers, layer up, because it is going to be frigid in Buffalo Saturday when the Bills and Patriots do battle for a 3rd time this season. These 2 teams split the season series, but everyone remembers the game in Buffalo where the hurricane force winds ripping through the stadium, the Pats running the ball all night long and only passing 3 times and still getting the victory. New England 5-3 against the spread on the road this year. They went 10-7 overall. The Bills only 4-3-2 against the spread at home. So we take a look at the superbook.com odds. This game opened up as Buffalo a -4.5 point favorite. They are now 4-point favorites. The point total sits at 43 points. Rondé, you're up. How do you see this one playing out?
I've been waiting to talk about this one, all day long. So we're going to go with the same narrative here. Tiki, don't bet against Bill Belichick or Nick Saban.
Potentially.
I bet against both of them here recently and won. Look, we saw this game. We saw this game 3 weeks ago, right? Josh Allen completely took over that game. He won it by himself, that 31-21 victory. Now, both teams, what I like about this game, both teams win by taking the ball away, right? They have 23 and 19 takeaways, third most in the NFL. To me, that's where this game hinges. Who is going to make the least amount of mistakes? And New England last week, that cheeky little loss to Miami, fumbling the end zone. It gives me pause, man. Mac Jones has been shaky to start games, and I know everybody's talking about this rookie wall, whatever. I don't think it's the rookie wall. I think he's just making too many simple mistakes right now, and so you know that their formula is to win on defense, right, and not make the quarterback make mistakes. Now the question: can New England rush for 222 yards again like they did 2 times ago that they played? Damian Harris was nearly 1,000-yard back. Ramondre Stevenson is hitting his stride now, but the only place where Buffalo's defense is shaky is running the football. So if they're going to win, they're going to have to run the football. You know they can you put pressure, take pressure off their rookie quarterback if they do so. Now I'm not much to doubt Buffalo. I like them at home. They have so much talent. And Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley working in the slot. This tight end, Dawson Knox, has turned into a player. And I really just like the way that they're coached. They find ways to win tough ball games. We saw what they did last year in the playoffs. I think they continue to do that. And I think they actually win. I think they cover here at least 4 points.
So you're going with Belichick, huh? You're picking. I mean, you're the Bills. You're picking up for the Bills to win by more than 5. Here's what I know about the New England Patriots. They're going to play playoff games close. They always do. Hell, they won a Super Bowl by trying to dumb us down to 1950 against the Rams a few years ago. So
successfully did.
They successfully did.
Super Bowl ever.
Right? But they've got a victory. Who cares what it looks like aesthetically?
100%.
Here's a fact. Rookies don't play well in the postseason. In fact, there's only been 7 rookies that have won a postseason game, and only 4 first-round rookies that have won a rookie playoff game. And so Mac Jones is seeking to do something that a lot of rookie quarterbacks don't do, because at this point in the season, you have a book, and especially the Buffalo Bills, who know him very well. He hasn't been tasked with doing a lot against his team. He's only had 16 completions in 2 games. That's it. 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Obviously, he only threw the ball 3 times in that win game that we were talking about. But as I look at this game, they're very similar, as Rondé mentioned. And to me, it's going to come down to quarterback play, as every postseason game ultimately does. I love Brian Daboll. I think he's become a mastermind in the National Football League of finding ways to win. In the second matchup between the Bills and the New England Patriots, neither team played really well. But Josh Allen stole the day with 314 yards passing and 64 yards rushing. Even when they had him hemmed in, he got off schedule and made things happen with his legs and with his arm. I believe that that's going to happen. So as much as I will espouse as many times as I can, don't bet against Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. I have to bet on the side here of Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator, and Brian Daboll, their offensive coordinator. I think they win this one by more than 4. So give me the Bills laying 4 against the New England Patriots.
There we go. And as I look at, I think your biggest point, Tiki, was that rookie quarterbacks struggle in playoff games. And Mac Jones has not really been shining here these last few weeks. They're trying to really dumb down that playbook for him, but I expect that trend to continue as well. The Bills have one of the most dominant defenses in football this year, surrendering the fewest yards and fewest points per games. As long as 700-mile-per-hour winds don't return to that stadium, I think that Josh Allen will take over and should be able to successfully throw the ball. I'm going to take the Bills to cover. And as I'm looking at this stat in front of me, underdogs, guys, have gone 15-3 against the spread since 2017. So I took 2 favorites. Brilliant.
Why not?
Why not? All right, we keep moving on with a super wild card weekend. I'm thinking the NFL maybe stole that from Superbook. I don't know. But that's what we'll save that for another time. We go from sub-zero temperatures to beach weather as the number 2 seed, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who finished 13-4, welcome in the Philadelphia Eagles, who are the 7th seed and finished with a 9-8 record. Tampa Bay 9-8 against the spread overall this season, 6-2 at home. Philadelphia went 8-1 against the spread this season and finished 5-4 on the road. Current odds coming in from superbook.com. This line opened up as Tampa Bay, a -9 favorite. Some of the money coming in on the Eagles, that number is down to 8.5, and the over-under is 49 points. Tiki, you're up on this one.
Yeah, as much as I want to champion what the Eagles have done and give Nick Caserio so much credit for this season and not developing, but managing Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, a lot of their damage has been done against inferior teams down the stretch as they surprisingly make the postseason this year. This will be the first official, because they were playing in the postseason, the Super Bowl last year, Buccaneers home playoff game since 2007 when they lost to my Giants, the eventual Super Bowl champions. So the excitement for a playoff game is going to be huge down here in Tampa, obviously because of the Tom Brady factor. But to me, this one hinges on the Eagles' ability to stop all of the wide open offense that Tom Brady and his Buccaneers, Byron Leftwich are going to throw out them. And can they keep up? Ultimately, I think Philly can do some things. They can create some mistakes, but they can't keep up. I love Jalen Hurts. I love what he's done. I love their running game, which is one of the best in football this year. But when you're basically, putting the tortoise against the hare, I know metaphorically the tortoise wins and the Eagles could win. The hare is going to run away with this one. Give me the Buccaneers that plus laying that 8.5.
Well, first of all, guys, there is a cold front coming through Tampa. It is mid-60s.
Oh my gosh! I will send you some gloves and a winter hat from Colorado, Rondé.
Oh, jeez.
We're getting lows overnight in the mid-50s. I mean,
the apocalypse is upon us.
Look, this is the first step in the repeat for the Bucs, and they have to feel that way. I feel like they feel that way. And fast fact here: Bucs' first ever playoff opponent, the Philadelphia Eagles, played the team 10 times.
Nice one.
Yeah, 10 times over the years, 5-5 record. So something's got to give here. Look, Philly and Jalen Hurts and that offense do a really, really good job protecting the football. I mean, they played them close earlier in the year. It was 26-22 victory. It was comfortable victory for the Bucs, but it was a close game. Turnovers will kill the Philadelphia Eagles in this game. The Bucs right now are 4th in the NFL taking the ball away. I know they give up a lot of yardage, but they have interceptions, 17 interceptions, a bunch of sacks, and they've been without JPP and Shaq Barrett and Levante David for the last 3 weeks. All those dudes practiced today. So there is a chance that the run stoppers, the fumble causing players on our team, they will be back. Now, this Philly offense, you said top's one of the best in the league. They're top in the league running the football. And it really doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Jalen Hurts, while it's Miles Sanders, or whoever it is. They've had a bunch of backups and found different ways to continue to run the football. And why is that important? Because exactly what you said, Tiki. They have to keep Tom Brady off the field. Devontae Smith, yes, he played a pretty good rookie season, but I'm not sure that his quarterback is going to be able to exploit this Bucs defense. Quez Watkins is really kind of coming to his own, earned some more touches. He's an exciting player, but you said it, and everybody knows this. Tom Brady is the MVP of the NFL for one reason. He led the league in passing yardage. He led the league in touchdowns. He did it without Chris Godwin. He's going to do it going forward without Antonio Brown. And it exasperates their problem if you're a Philly defense that Leonard Fournette and Giovanni Bernard also practiced today. Yeah. The offense is only going to get better. They score a lot of points. They can win at will. They don't run the ball. People talk about the Bucs running offense. They don't run it because they don't have to. So if the Eagles are going to stay in this, Darius Slay's got to have a heck of a matchup against Mike Evans because he's second in the league in touchdown catches this year. Quietly, second in the league in touchdown catches this year. This Eagles pass defense is not good. They give up a lot of completions. They don't give up a bunch of yards. They give up a lot of completions. The only way teams beat Tom Brady, Tiki, you know this because your Giants did it twice, is you have to pressure him.
Yep.
You know what this Eagles team is pressuring the passer?
Not
Bottom in pressures and quarterback hits. This Bucs offensive line has 3 Pro Bowlers. They have given up the least number of sacks in the league. I just don't see it happen. This Bucs team is great when they get in the red zone. They score whenever they want to. And you said tortoise in the hare. It could be Usain Bolt and Ron Crook. This is going to be a track meet that they are not going to be able to keep up with. Take these points all the way.
I like it. Both guys going with Tampa Bay. The weapons are coming back with Tampa Bay. That scares me a lot. I think the only key for in this game is the Bucs rushing defense is going to be, if they are able to stop Philadelphia's running game, then they're going to actually have their way. Yes, Brady again out with no Godwin, no Brown, but as Rondé pointed out, he's getting a lot of weapons back on offense, but even more important, they're getting those big names back on defense as well. I don't think the Eagles can keep up. I think that they will for a while, but I think that's when Tom Brady starts to break teams down. I think the Bucs cover. So this is our first game that we're all going with the favorites in this one, taking Tampa Bay. Quickly, superbook.com odds for winning the NFC. Tampa Bay comes in at 7-2 odds, guys, only trailing Green Bay, who sits at 3-2. All right, we move on now to one of the best postseason rivalries in NFL history. Two teams hoping to ride that wave of momentum when the number 6 seeded San Francisco 49ers look to build off that huge comeback win over the Rams when they traveled to Big D to face the number 3 ranked Dallas Cowboys, who, guys, they've scored 50-plus points for the second time in 3 weeks. So that offense is humming. 49ers finished the season with a 10-7 record, and the Cowboys went 12-5. As I mentioned earlier, Dallas had the best record in the NFL against the spread, going 13-4, but San Francisco has been on fire. They have covered 4 times in the past 5 games. Current odds coming in from superbook.com. The Dallas Cowboys opened up as a -3-point favorite, and the line has not moved. They are currently still a -3, laying those 3 points. The over-under point total is at 51. All right, Rondé, you're up. How do you see this game playing out?
This game reminds me of watching football in my childhood in the 80s and 90s, where these two teams were winning at will. It was like if Dallas is not winning, San Fran is. If San Fran's not winning, Dallas is. And if you're Deion Sanders, you play for both of them and you win at both places. To me, Dallas is the clear favorite here, right? You just said it, Ron. They played well in week 16 and 18 with that little hiccup loss to Arizona in between. And the 49ers, I mean, they're sneaky. They snuck in a very crucial win last week when they had to win. That tells me that there's something very similar to the Las Vegas Raiders finding ways to force their way into the playoffs. And I know this, and Tiki knows this. He can corroborate with me. Shanahan can always win one football game. Mm-hmm. It is just in the playoffs. You're only trying to win one football game. You're not worried about position or anything else. They have the most explosive plays in football this year, running and throwing the football. Now, Jimmy G's been pretty steady, right? We all doubt him a little bit, but he's been pretty steady. Yeah. But they run the absolute bejesus out of the football, man. They run misdirection. They challenge your eyes, and it doesn't matter who's running the football. And the X factor, as it's been all year and will continue to be while this dude's on the team, is Deebo Samuel. He is a problem not only as a runner but as a receiver, finding ways to be a possession guy or an over-the-top guy. Guy's tough to deal with. And Dallas's defense give up way too many yards in the pass game. I will always continue to say that. This team wants sacks. Dan Quinn's defense is aggressive, but they also live or die by the sword, if you know what I mean. Now, is Dak going to be the good Dak? Because Dak's been pretty good here recently. He was on fire at the beginning of the year, got hurt, had his little dip. will his connection with Lamb and Cooper and a tight end Schultz be good? This dude hasn't thrown an interception in 4 games. So to me, it's telling me that he's trending in the right direction. The one thing, and I think this is why San Fran has been able to stick around and find a way into the playoffs, they are sneaky good on defense, man. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The 3rd overall defense in the league. They're 6th against the pass. They're 7th against the run. That's how they've done it. Now, this game at -3, it means that a lot of people making these lines don't trust the boys, man. They don't trust them. And we shouldn't trust them because their defense can be a little too shaky. And I think Kyle Shanahan has what it takes to upset these guys. I'm calling the upset. So forget the line. I'm saying San Francisco wins this thing.
Yeah,
money line bet, San Fran.
You're not wrong, Rondé. You really aren't. What they really want to do, and if I was a sharp and I was laying this one, I'd make it a push. If this was neutral site, it'd be an even matchup. Because you're absolutely right, Rondé. The Cowboys defense seems elite. They are elite because they take the ball away like nobody's business. They led the league in interceptions this year with 26. They led the league in total takeaways this year with 34. They had the most defensive touchdowns in the league this year with 6, which means, as we've said many times, as we've talked about this team, Rondé, they are opportunistic. But really smart teams can get away from giving them the opportunities. And I think that's what Kyle Shanahan, if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't get too in his head and want to be a hero, will coach themselves into playing smart football. The other thing you have to remember, the Dallas Cowboys are 12-5 this year, right? 6 of those wins are all in the NFC East. The NFC East was bad. They dominated the NFC East this year, going 6-0, which is very hard to do in any division. So half of their wins, you were just here's a gimme when you talk about playing the Giants or even the Eagles, who were better, but they were obviously a shell of what the Cowboys were. I agree with you, Rondé, and I want to like the Cowboys because they feel like they've done so much on both sides of the football. But the San Francisco 49ers have the X factor, and that's Deebo Samuel. And by the way, we're not even talking about George Kittle, who is the most dynamic athlete on the field in most games that he's playing. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but I did a game of his a couple of weeks ago. I saw him catch a ball, tiptoe down the sidelines, and outrun DBs. The dude is a difference maker. I like San Francisco on the road getting 3 here. I'm not sure I put it on the money line, but I probably should. But I think they keep this one close. So give me the 49ers +3.
All right, let's make it a clean sweep. I like San Francisco as well. Any team coming into the playoffs on a hot streak, I like to ride, and that's exactly what they're doing. You guys mentioned it. The Cowboys defense is struggling, especially against the run. And I think back to that game where my Broncos ran all over them. San Francisco is going to come in, and they're just going to try to pound that football all day long. I think they're going to control the clock. I think they're going to have success on the ground. And you mentioned Samuel. I mean, he has become the ultimate weapon on offense through a touchdown. I mean, he's rushed for a score. He's catching passes. He is a game changer. I see them pulling off the upset. So I am going with the 49ers as well. My first underdog of the week. So whatever that means. All right, guys, let's keep it rolling. The biggest line of the weekend is in Kansas City, when the number 2 seeded Chiefs welcome in the number 7 seeded Pittsburgh Steelers, who have the Chargers to thank for getting them in the playoffs and their big overtime victory over the Ravens in Baltimore. Kansas City 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 overall games, guys, but only 8-9 overall this season. Pittsburgh went 8-9 against the spread overall this season. They have covered 3 out of their last 4 games. Current odds coming in from superbook.com. The Chiefs opened up as a 12.5-point favorite, and that number remains true. Kansas City minus 12.5. The point total is at 46.5. Rondé, you're up. How do you see this one playing out? Big line.
Well, this is the least deserving Mike Tomlin playoff team I think I've ever talked about, right? I love the Steelers. I've loved Ben throughout his career, but 12.5 points, man, damn. The rematch of an utter demolition. It was 36-10 the last time they played. It wasn't even a game. I turned it off at halftime. The
Yeah.
Chiefs have been doing well in complementing themselves on offense, running and throwing the football. They haven't been explosive as they have been in the past, but they have a comprehensive attack and they're finding ways to win a lot of games. They're the third-ranked offense in the NFL for a reason, because they have a ton of talent. They score a bunch of points because their defense is finding ways to get the ball back, and it looks unlike the team that we saw at the beginning of the year. Now, we know Pitt can't hang in a shootout. That's just not going to happen. Ben, however, knows how to win. That being said, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, I like. Najee Harris, hell yeah. If they can do that, sustain drives, they might be able to stay in this game, but it's not going to be a victory. This Pittsburgh O-line is the worst that I've seen them have in a long time. And don't get me started on their defense. They do enough to frustrate you, and I mean that not in a good way, unless T.J. Watt is just going off and sacking the quarterback. So in a playoff game, I just don't like them. They don't make enough game-changing plays against a Kansas City offense that can thrive in against a lesser team, which I think they will. Now, all that being said, Mike Tomlin's a hell of a coach, dude. He's found a way to turn his team that was once explosive over the years with Ben into a ball-controlled team and sneak away with victories. That's how they got in the playoffs, right? So if anybody can pull a rabbit out of the hat, it's him. But I still don't think it's good enough to cover 12.5 points. So you got to take this from me. This is screaming for you to take Kansas City at 12.
Yeah, Rondé, and as much as I want to laud and applaud Mike Tomlin for the job he did this year, it might be his best coaching job. Clearly, he's never had a losing season. This year, with no one expecting it, he made the postseason. Now, Big Ben's career in the postseason is obviously historic. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He started 10-2, as we all remember. He's now lost 7 of his last 10 playoff games, and that's for a reason. Wow. He's lost talent on the offensive side of the ball. The chemistry with those big play wide receivers, Antonio Brown being one, is just not the same as it used to be. And while Najee Harris sneakily, because everybody thought he was having a bad year, rushed for 1,200 yards. He's the fourth leading rusher in the National Football League. In order for them to get him involved, they're going to have to play with a lead, and I just don't see that happening. We thought the Kansas City Chiefs were struggling at the beginning of this season, but get this stat for the last 6 home games of the Kansas City Chiefs. They've obviously been 6-0 because they haven't lost in a long time. The point differential, plus 97. Plus 97 over the last 6 games. They are going to score points. I don't care if TJ Watt gets 2 or 3 sacks on Patrick Mahomes. And the only way that's going to happen is if you sit back and you play coverage and let the defensive line get home. But he's learned over this year, because he was so frustrated early, how to just dink and dunk his way to keep possession. And eventually you frustrate a defense. They bring an all-out blitz. They play cover 1 or cover 0, and that's when he torches you and the game gets away. I love what Pittsburgh has done. I really, really do. But this is a game that could get really ugly really quickly. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs laying the 12.5.
For me, guys, it was the same thing. I'm looking at all the ways that Pittsburgh could keep this close. And I kept coming back, okay, the defense, if they get to Mahomes, the Chiefs defense has not been playing great the past couple of weeks. If this, if that, if there's too many ifs. I look at their offense. They just don't have the weapons. Big Ben, give him all the credit in the world. He had a great run and got to the playoffs. I mean, that win in Baltimore was huge. I just hope – I'm having flashbacks to Dan Marino's last playoff game when they were against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got destroyed 62-7. He threw for 95 yards, 2 picks. You want the guy to win, but – there's a time where you just have to look at who's the better team, the hostile environment in Kansas City. Give me the Chiefs. I think that I love them, especially in a teaser, but I do think that they will cover that large spread. All right, that takes us to, because Saturday and Sunday football isn't enough, we've got the first ever playoff game on Monday Night Football as division rivals square off. Number 5 seeded Arizona Cardinals travel to LA to take on the NFC West winning LA Rams. Both teams, guys, have stumbled and lost last week, and They both split the season series this year. A lot on the line for these two quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford and Kyler Murray. Both will be making their first career playoff start, which traditionally has not worked out so well for quarterbacks making their first career playoff start. But both have really, to me, as I look at it, have had roller coaster seasons. Current odds coming in for the Monday night football game. The odds opened up as the Rams a -4 favorite. They are still sitting at -4 right now, and the point total is 49.5 points. Game number 6, Rondé, how do you like this one?
So this is another division split decider game, right? And we're better to because they split during the year. We're better to determine who's better than in the playoffs. Like Arizona did not come into the playoffs the right way. Point blank, lost 4 of the last 5. It was not convincing at all. Kyler Murray in those 5 games only had 5 touchdowns. He was electric at the beginning of the year, right? He was a lot of people's MVP favorite, but he has been taking a lot of sacks. He took 5 of them last week versus Seattle. Aren't getting to the quarterback, and the last time he took even close to that many was against guess who? The Rams. He had 4 sacks last time they played the Rams, and the Rams are the 3rd best at getting to the quarterback in the league. I look at this Arizona offense. No DeAndre Hopkins most of the year. Rondell Moore was having a good rookie season. He hasn't played in over a month. Their best wide receiver, Christian Kirk. Right? Do I like Christian Kirk? Yes, because he was on my fantasy team. Their second best receiver is a guy they traded for in Zach Ertz, second most receiving. So they can't do what they want to on offense. And they just can't finish. It finished what they were trying to do. So despite their ability to run the ball somewhat with Connor and Edmonds and Kyler, that's not their formula. Now, LA gives up a bunch of yards on offense or on defense, but they have a ton of let's just call them ballers, right? Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Fournette, Von Miller's been showing up lately. I'll take that. Couple that with Matthew Stafford. I know he's been shaky. He had a hell of a year, man. Threw for a lot of yards. His receiver had 19 touchdowns, most in the league, or 16 touchdowns, most in the league. And despite his spat with interceptions, I still like their explosiveness with Kupp, Jefferson, OBJ. At times, it's just too much firepower for Arizona to deal with the way that they're playing offense. This is at least, to me, a touchdown game. So take those 4 points for LA.
Yeah, I wish I could disagree with you. We've agreed a lot, and the wild card weekend tend to do that simply because of the way that they match up. Arizona, and by the way, you meant Matthew Stafford is in his first playoff with his new team. He's actually 0-3 in his postseason career, and if he loses this game, he'll join Andy Dalton and Y.A. Tittle as the only QBs in NFL history to lose their first 4 playoff starts. So there's a lot on Matt Stafford's mind, at least from our perspective, on whether or not he can be a playoff style quarterback. And as Rondé mentioned, they have so many weapons on offense. Odell Beckham Jr. has actually been maybe found his perfect home right now because it feels like he's sliding in perfectly to what they need. We thought that he would struggle because of what he doesn't provide in the run game, but it hasn't been an issue. The bigger issue for me, though, is Kyler Murray. He just doesn't play well against the Rams, and that's maybe circumstantial. It's maybe because they get an interior push with Aaron Donald, and so he gets disrupted really quickly and then starts to move to his edges and try to run off schedule. Now, he's not a runner. I know we want to say he's a great runner in his first year, his rookie year. He was great at that, but he's actually tamped that back a lot. I think his attempts per game fell from 6 or so from his first year to 2 this past year. And so he wants to stay in the pocket. Like in his mind, he doesn't want to get hurt. He wants to create off schedule and in the pocket. As a result, he gets sacked. He's gotten sacked 18 times in his career, and it's obviously only 4 games against the Rams, and his completion percentage is significantly lower than it is in the regular season. I think the Rams have a formula to contain and trap Kyler Murray. They will employ that and force him to make plays downfield that just aren't going to be there. Again, like you, Rondé, I like the Rams laying 4 here at home. They've gotten so good on both sides of the ball when it matters most.
All right, so the guys both went with the LA Rams in this one. I'm going to make it a clean sweep. Same thing. What scares me was I saw the stat that Arizona 8-1 against the spread on the road this year, but that tied the second best mark in the NFL. But they've gone 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games. So things have definitely turned around as the season has gone on. I think Stafford, yeah, you mentioned it, Tiki. He's had a few playoff starts. He's never won in the playoffs. I think last week with the way they collapsed against the 49ers was a wake-up call. I like the Rams to cover the 4 points, so give me LA. All right, that's going to wrap up our picks for this super wild card weekend. Going to be an incredible weekend of football, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But before we go, we are winding down the Superbook Sports season-long contest of winning a trip to head out to Vegas to hang with the Barber brothers. To qualify, all you have to do is send in a question via Twitter for the guys. If yours is picked, you're automatically entered into the drawing. Send your questions to at Superbook Sports, at Rondé Barber, at Tiki Barber, at R Cruck, and at Betting with the Barbers. All right, guys, this week we get a question coming in from Chris A, who asks, offense wins games, defense wins championships, true or false?
100% true.
Depends on what era you're talking about.
No, I go back to our Super Bowl. Obviously, it was the case. We scored 3-4 touchdowns against Oakland. Defense wins in every game. Even the New England Patriots, when they won 6 of their championships, they won on defense, dude. I remember my first year working on TV, I did a game. It was the Colts against Denver, right? And no, who was it? Who was your New York Super Bowl?
It was Colts
Denver
against
and Seattle.
Yeah, Denver, Seattle.
Denver, Seattle. And I went Denver because Peyton Manning and his offense. And I was like, it's explosiveness. Seattle had the best defense in the league that year. And I sounded like the biggest idiot when Seattle blew them out. So defense wins championships, dude. There's no doubt about it. Because at the end of the game, when somebody needs to make a play, it's usually on defense that determines it.
Yeah, there's one team over the last half a decade that has won a championship with offense and with a average defense, and that would be the Kansas City Chiefs from 2019. Other than that, all the other teams, they're winning obviously by scoring points, but it's with defense. The Buccaneers last year, they talked about how great the Buccaneers from last season were against the run. The New England Patriots, obviously we mentioned that game against the Rams. The Philadelphia Eagles, that was purely about defense, even though there was a lot of points scored in that game. The Patriots against the Falcons, the same situation. Denver Broncos against the Carolina Panthers. It's always been about defense, and it always will be about defense. Now, you still got to be able to score these days, but the team that can make a stop and be opportunistic defensively, they're likely to have the best chance to win a Super Bowl.
No doubt.
Wow, the offensive guy went, yes, true.
Hey,
defense
it
wins
is what it is.
championships.
It is
He's
what
a
it is.
smart man.
Ask him about his Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is almost every team that's won a Super Bowl, save for the Chiefs, over the last decade have had a top 10 defense. It's really hard to find one that did not. The Seattle Seahawks, you all remember that team from whatever year that was, 2014. They were the number one defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
The Ravens, the second Ravens one wasn't a great defense, but historically they have been a great defense.
The one that beat you was a good defense.
Oh, they were unreal.
Hey, Rondé, I can one-up you on looking like an idiot with the Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl. Quickly, I met Bill Murray in New York, and he was so cool. He's talking to me and my executive producer, and I had a Broncos sweatshirt on, and I guaranteed a Broncos win. So next time I see Bill Murray, I'm going to have to apologize.
Nice.
Well, guys, great job as always. We are looking forward to the most wonderful time of the year, the NFL playoffs. Before we go, Tiki, Rondé, any final thoughts?
It's wild card weekend, man. The games mean so much. This is the proverbial second season of the NFL. This is where the intensity really picks up. You're going to see some surprises, but I think we got this about right picking these lines.
I 100% agree. And the one thing that I would add to the playoff conversation here, this is where heroes are not made. It's where they're identified.
So well done. Bam. And drop the mic and walk off. I'm just excited to have some football where teams are actually trying and actually the bowl season, I'm done with it. Let's get to the NFL playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Well, Betting with the Barbers airs on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and at superbook.com. New episodes drop every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern and 3 Pacific. Make sure you're following us on social media at Superbook Sports and at Betting with the Barbers. Look for our picks and clips throughout the weekend on social media. And the podcast version of Betting with the Barbers is available on Apple and Spotify. For Rondé and Tiki Barber, I'm Ron Kruk. Enjoy the NFL playoffs, everyone.